Hey everybody, it's me, AkashaWolf, and I'm here again with the Motorcycle Boss.
What's up?
So today I decided that we're going to do ghost stories, and I'm just going to talk to you guys about the last ghost story that I told you about, and I told you that I had more experiences at that location. So I'm going to tell you about the final experiences, and also a little bit about the neighborhood itself, because like that whole location was haunted, like the whole neighborhood was basically haunted. And you guys were also asking about his paranormal experiences with his paranormal team, and we're going to be going over that today. So I'm going to start off with my story since there's not that much left to it. So to kind of recap a little bit, this is the house that we lived at. It was called, it was on Whisper Ridge. That's the street. And that's basically where I call the story. We basically lived really close to the Air Force Base. Like, we could see the Air Force Base from our house. We have planes flying around there all the time and stuff. But, yeah, I lived at this location for a good while, and I was also really young, too, at that time. That was the same location where I saw my sister walk into the garage, but it wasn't her. Anyways, some of the other experiences we did have was issues, of course, with the bathroom. We always felt like you were being watched while you were taking a shower, which did not feel good at all. Another experience that I ended up having, well, I didn't have this. This was actually my little brother Lucas and my mother. There was a day when we had a power outage for some reason, and we were all really cold. It was in the winter, and we were super cold, so we had a like heater or something. No, it wasn't that. It wasn't the power. Our heater or our air conditioning or whatever was broken. So we had to all sleep in one little room with a heater. So the room that we ended up sleeping in was my brother's room. So the one who was born after me. And we had another brother who was like the 5th child born. And he was really young at this time. So we're all sleeping in that room. And a couple of us are on the floor, and then a couple were on the bed. And we were trying to stay warm, and we wanted, a little space so that we'd all be heated. And my mother woke up to my little brother, like, looking at the wall, like, crying. Not screaming, but he was crying, he was upset. And, it wasn't at the wall, it was kind of at the wall because underneath the bed is where he could see, and you can kind of see like a wall back there because there was nothing underneath that bed. And he was like looking under it intently and like staring at something that she could not see, but obviously to him he could see, and it scared him and it made him cry and everything. And then I guess he even like kind of moved a little bit as if whatever was underneath the bed like shifted. And my mother, of course, freaked out and then grabbed him and moved him closer to her. But she could see that there was nothing underneath there, so she thought maybe he saw something, but at the same time, she couldn't necessarily do anything because whatever it was just going to be there. As long as it wasn't doing anything physically. It was just apparently scaring him. So then, in this other time, it was in my mother's room, and I could feel something. And what I was feeling was like weird, like, I don't know, it was hard to describe, but I was feeling something in the room, and I'm like I'm kind of wound up. I know if something happened, I would bolt for some reason. And as soon as I thought that thought, something like was thrown off of the dresser. I say thrown because it was on the center of the dresser, and it shouldn't have fell where it fell. It like was thrown, and I could hear the crash, and then my body was like, no. So I bolted. Like, I kind of like left part of my body behind. That's like what it felt like because I moved that quickly. And at this other instance, my mother had this bed that she ended up bringing in. It was wood. It was natural wood, and the thing was heavy. And it seemed like once we brought this bed in, it was very active. It got more active than it was before we had this bed. There was things that we would kind of see go underneath the bed, like almost like little shadows, And then, like, whenever you'd look down there, it would kind of feel weird. Like, you felt like something was always looking back at you. And there was this one time I had walked into the room, and it looked like a orb was circling, like, the bed had these long, like, wood pieces, and it looked like something circled it, and then went up into the ceiling and, like, disappeared. And then one time I was sleeping on that bed, and my mother had walked in. I was in the center of it. Like, we were cleaning or something. We were doing something that had us up really late. So I was, you know, just knocking out on the bed for a little bit. And my mother thought it was my stepfather who crawled underneath the bed, because she saw, like, a man crawling underneath the bed. And she thought it was hilarious, because she thought that he went down there to scare me. So she's like, "Moses, what are you doing crawling underneath the bed?" So she went underneath, looked under the bed to, like, see him and ask him why is he, you know, crawling underneath the bed, which she assumed he was going to scare me. No one was down there. So that really freaked her out. We also had, like, this one big dark orb that my mother saw, and my sister. They saw it together. But I think that's all I can think of right now for that location. If I ever think of anything else, I'll tell you guys at a different time. But in the neighborhood, I had a really close friend who lived down the street, and she had experiences at her house. And one time we had a sleepover at her birthday party, and we were talking about stuff or whatever in the dark. I think we might have been telling scary stories or something. But I had saw a woman walk out of her grandmother's room and walk around the coffee table and then sit down at the coffee table. And she looked really crazy. Like, she looked old but skinny, like super skinny. And she was, like, smiling, and she almost looked like she was in one of those what are those things called? They're almost like
Nightgown?
Yeah, it's a nightgown. It wasn't like a, you know, hoochie one. It was like a
It's not lingerie.
Yeah, it was like a grandmother's type.
Granny lingerie.
Yeah. And yeah, that's what she was wearing. And she, like, sat down and she was smiling really hard. And she was freaking looking at me, and it freaked me out. And it almost looked like her hair was kind of doing this a little bit. Like, she was like a stereotype of a ghost, like a creepy ghost, and her hair kind of had, like, movement to it. And she just freaking freaked the crap out of me, and it was to the point where, like, I started covering my face with the pillow. And with these friends, like, one of the people was my close friend, but all the other girls I didn't really know that much, so I didn't say anything because I didn't really know those girls. I did tell my friend later, and she told me that her grandmother would feel things in her room. So I was wondering if that might have been what she was feeling in that room, and I was just able to see it that day. But yeah, that freaked the crap out of me. She even had issues with the attic. I was over at the house one day, and the attic's always closed. There's no reason for it to be open. And she had walked into the bathroom and saw the attic open. Like, it looked like someone opened it and moved it. And I went in and saw the same thing, and no one had come in to do that. We were there the whole time. So yeah, that was another experience. I also had someone who lived across the street who told me they had experiences, and then I had another friend who lived down the other side, and he had told us that he's had experiences at his house. And my brother would visit his friend that was, like, down the street this way, and he had experiences, but he says that his experiences were his grandmother, but apparently she was, like, into some crazy not good stuff, and she was trying to attack my brother, and she didn't like him in that house. Whenever he would come over, he would always have bad experiences in that house. So yeah, it was a pretty haunted, like, location. A lot of people were saying that it was probably, like, Indian burial ground or something like that. I never looked into it, but that's something that I felt in a way, and other people had felt the same thing, and we didn't even tell them that that's what we thought about the location. Some other little thing too is sometimes I would hear birds chirping, like the
Chidori?
No. the little Parakeets. We used to have parakeets, but the two that we purchased was not from a good store, and that was our first time purchasing them. So we didn't know much about parakeets at the time. And I guess they had like scaly face and scaly feet, and they weren't really healthy. And they ended up passing. And we could still hear them chirping upstairs when we had no birds to be chirping. And it would happen like late at night and stuff like that. Like the way that it sounded like the birds were right there, like upstairs in the room. It didn't sound like that it was coming from outside. It ended up making me cry too, because I was thinking about my birds. It made me really sad, and I'm like, are they still here? Oh, something I wanted to add before we get on to his. I dream about this location a lot. I dream about being there and always things happening. Like, I'm actually in that house and then I'm still experiencing things. And I even go to the room and feed my animals. Like, any animal that has passed there, I go to the room and I feed them in my dream. And something that I've heard about from certain psychics is that there are certain locations or homes that you live in that it will hang on to you. So when you die, you're gonna go back there. And I'm wondering if the reason why I dream about it so much is due to the fact that I've lived there for a good portion of my life, and I was young too. I'm wondering if that's why I still dream about it, because I dream about it in detail. But I wonder, and I'm hoping not, if I were to pass, if I'd end up going back to that house, which would be really scary, and I don't want to do. That house has a lot of good memories, but it also, with what's there and the things that we felt and some of the things that had come through there, I just don't want to return there, especially when I pass. I don't want to return to that house. So I honestly feel I'm going to be doing, I don't know if it's going to be like a spell or a ritual that I'm going to be doing to try to cut cords with that place, because I feel like I have some sort of attachment still there, and that I kind of fear the fact that I will pass and end up back at that house, because that would be not a good thing. I don't want to do that. Now, for your stories.
I have one. Not a crap load like someone. That's probably the difference between someone who believes in this stuff and someone who doesn't. So I have one experience that is where I can't really explain it, and it's only one out of my whole life, and it was when I was with this paranormal research group. So what happened was, when I first tried looking into it, I was scrolling on Craigslist and I was just looking for just something to buy or something like that, and I saw an ad for a paranormal researcher, and that was just something that I was always curious about. So I wanted to see if there was any kind of actual momentum with this person that was looking for people to join this group. So I signed up to it, and when about a week or two later, we actually had a meetup with everyone else that was interested as well. And we met up at a bar and we discussed how the group was going to go about doing things, what things you were going to need to research. We actually had a funding account in order for us to pay for certain devices and different materials in order to improve our research and stuff like that. So everyone was specialized in one certain field of the thing, and mine was finances. Mine was making sure that the money was taken care of. Of course, we're all researchers, but everyone in that team has a specific job. Some are going through all of the EVPs, some are going through videos. Mine was finance, to make sure all the money was going and coming in, and it was all accounted for, which is a big part of a paranormal research team, especially a team that likes to travel. So after being with them for a little while, we ended up going to this one house, and it was a call. We did free calls, and whenever we would go in to investigate the happenings of a certain house, the people that lived in the house had the option to either stay inside the house in a room or stay outside the house, either go to a hotel room or stay outside the front yard or something like that. But we had to make sure that they had a good understanding not to contaminate any of the evidence that we had. Anywhere from wandering around the house was completely like not going to happen. You were stuck in one room. If you wanted to stay in the house, or if you're going to be out of the house, you could not come nearby or make any noises outside of the house during the time we were doing the investigation. Otherwise, it would ruin all of our EVPs and all of our video. So we did everything we could to lock down every single variable possible. With this particular house, because this is the first time that this family had any paranormal investigation team go in there and investigate, they wanted to make sure that the house was going to be in good hands. So they wanted to go into one room, and it was a father, mother, I think 2 kids, and a dog or something like that. And they were all in one room, and it was completely isolated from the rest of the house, and everyone was accounted for. Before we went through the whole house, we had all of the lights turned on, and we had taken video and pictures of every single room of that house, including the ceilings, the closets, the mirrors. We took everything, a lot of video and a lot of photo. We had about, I want to say 6 people that day that were investigating, and we had 3 people sitting outside, staying quiet and not moving as to not contaminate the evidence. And then we had another team that after all of the video, basically all the investigative things happened, we had another team go through and of 3 and go in and investigate. When they were done, they would come out. The other team would go in as to not intimidate any paranormal happenings that might be there, or any ghosts or spirits or whatever, and they don't want to see a group of people, so we only went in teams of 3. There was an upstairs and a downstairs, but we were able, the ones that are outside during the other 3 that were investigating, we were able to make sure we knew where the family was at all times. And every single rotation, the family, including the dog, has always been accounted for, and no one moved from the spot they were supposed to be at. None of the video and audio evidence has been corrupted or contaminated in any way. So near the end of the investigation, we hear a couple of weird sounds and a couple of things that are unexplainable. We end up noticing that there's almost baby footprints on the ground in baby powder in the child's room, which was the room that was claimed to have the most activity. So we brought in the rest of the team, we turned on all the lights, every family member was accounted for, and it's really weird. There is baby powder on a dresser, and you can see the baby powder trickle down the dresser onto the floor, and the baby powder was closed as well. And you can see footprints going to the closet, like little tiny footprints, not like super tiny, but almost toddler sized, going to the closet. And no shoes, no socks, you actually see toes. We open up the closet, nothing there. There was no kid, no dog, no one that went in that room during the investigative process. And we compared the photos of that to the photos and video that we took of that exact same room before the investigation started. So from my point of view, all variables were accounted for in that instance. And that's the only thing that I still can't really fathom how something like that can happen when I know for a fact that no one went in that room. And that's the only thing that's really gotten me, and I'm still stumped as to how that happened. And I wish we had some kind of camera to record something like that. That would have been really cool.
Something else that he didn't really mention is the paranormal group that he was a part of was actually featured in Chris Angel's Mind Freak. Was it Mind Freak, or didn't they rename it?
I think at the time it was Mind Freak.
I'm not totally sure, because I think they might have changed it. I'm not positive. But it was the episode when they were reanimating a corpse, I guess. Like, they got the corpse to, like, breathe or the heartbeat to go or something. Mm-hmm. And he said that he brought in a Las Vegas paranormal team. That was the team that he was a part of. Yeah. You actually see one of his teammates, like, shocked. Yeah. Like he's gonna, like, poop himself or something from what he saw. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, I thought that was really interesting. Thank you for sharing that with everybody. I know you guys are really curious about it. Mm-hmm. And hopefully me and him get our own little paranormal team going.
One of these days.
Yeah.
We'll probably start in Ireland.
Yeah, just the 2 of us.
That'd be cool.
That'd be awesome. But yeah, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're into motorcycle maintenance, of course, check out The Motorcycle Boss. And if you do subscribe to his channel, put like little wolves in his comments to like show that you were sent
Yeah.
by the wolf pack.
Yeah.
And if you guys want to hear any more scary stories or the experiences that I've had in my life with spirits, then let me know down in the comments below. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe so that you can be part of the wolf pack. Talk to you guys later. Goodbye and blessed be.
Bye.